Hey people, hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Today I'm going to show you the best training location in the game, and also I'm going to show you how I come upon this being the best training position in the game. I know I didn't cover it in my best start guide, so I just wanted to do this so you guys don't feel left out or feel like I left you off at a point where I said, oh yeah, you can go train, but I didn't actually show you. So, as we all know, the difficulty of Romancing Saga 2, Revenge of the Seven, is sort of a rubber band effect. Monsters are scaled to your strength. Some are debuffed, and some are buffed to your strength. And the XP that you get is relative to that debuff or buff. However, you don't simply only see the weaker tiers of monsters in some of the areas. So for like the first couple of zones, you only see like goblins and maybe some hobgoblins. But these dobbies here are of a higher tier, and they actually appear in certain areas of Avalon. And I'm going to show you that. Some of them appear in Tefal, and some of them appear in the Canal Fortress. And because of these are higher tier mob, they're debuffed to your level, but the XP that they drop is static. No matter how debuffed they are, the XP that they give is still relatively a lot better than like these ones, if you know what I mean. And that's why you want to go to areas with the final tier or the higher tier of mob, if that makes sense. So I've already cleared the gemstone mine, so I can't show you it there. But if you go to the Canal Fortress, which is relatively easy in the game, there are these higher tier goblin mons, and they give around 100 to 200 XP, which combats around Avalon, etc. You can go test this yourself, are around like 20 XP, 40 XP. And when you win these fights with monsters with high TP, it doesn't start jacking up the scaling or anything like that, or whatever. Now, if we look here, there's these purple gobbies, and a relatively beginner, like pretty early part of the game, and they give like 200 XP. So these, I think, are the best mobs to train on at the early part of the game before you go into your first time skip or you do my best start guide. Now remember what I was telling you about tiers and monsters and stuff like that? I'll give you an example. Like, so Mount Kamrun, you'd say that is when the world opens up, so the monsters are up a tier, right? So when we look at the monsters here, they're going to be stronger, right? So I'll give you an example of a monster here. So we got these fire dogs, right? But if they're red, right? But if we go here, which opens up at the same sort of time in the story, we get these blue fire dogs, which are obviously stronger. And this area here, this map here, is one of the best mid-game training areas. You wouldn't be faulted for coming here and doing like 80 fights on one emperor, etc. because the XP, the mobs that you find here are of a higher tier. And there is another example of this, which I'm going to show you. But yeah, like there's that lizard man here. Not only is that lizard man the boss of the gemstone mine, it is a grade higher than the one above that, and I'll show you where you find him. But just to show you, he is like the third tier. I don't have him in the beast tier, but these guys are the tier above the boss, and then you've got that purple one. And here in my layer save, you can see lizard man, lizard lady, and then the lizard lord. You know. Now I am saying Toward Ruins is the best training area in the game, but you can get comparable experience in Salamat, and I'll show you where. So I'm going to just start this off with saying Salamat at baseline gives you like 1,000 every enemy. Like, all of these monsters are quite up there, but there is one that is like a higher tier than them all, and they're quite easy to sort of train on, and that is the Frog Lords. Let's see if I can get there relatively unimpeded. So this area here, like, you see these frogs? You want the blue frogs, if I'm correct. I'll go attack one of these blue frogs. So these Frog Lords are like the highest tier frog in the game. So they give like 2,000 experience per drop. However, the thing is about these static high tier mobs, they have massive HP values. So you're gonna have to train on them on casual, and yeah, they'll give you like 2,000 XP. So like, the way to efficiently level is to sort of avoid most combats in the game till you get to this point where you can train on these high tier enemies that open up because of the world map, and you'll get a really high amount of XP, and then start getting a bit of a snowball effect and sort of get ahead of the enemies that you're fighting in the areas you are right now. And yeah, all the enemies in the other areas are not on the same weight class. However, by training here and efficiently leveling here, the mobs in the other areas are also going to sort of catch up with you and start giving better XP. So by training in these efficient areas, doing a bit of grinding within your playthrough, you can help make all the mobs in the world less trash to train on, if you know what I mean. So you don't have to avoid encounters as much. So like, I do really suggest that at some point in your run, going to the Torrid Ruins or going to Salamat and training on these enemies so that you can make the common mobs less trash, and also get you high levels. You're also going to be glimmering a lot, etc. Because the way that it works is even though these mobs give like a lot of experience, they count as common mobs in terms of enemy strength and the rubber banding of the difficulty, etc. So you will get ahead, but obviously, like, the other mobs are going to catch up slowly but surely. So yeah, I suggest like just sort of avoiding mobs until you get to this point in the game, so you can get these heightened XP values. I'm going to give you examples of the XP you get from these mobs, and maybe you'll start to see why you want to train here. Now, like, I know this is what you're saying. You're like, why are you giving me so many options for training areas? Well, another thing to take into account when you're doing your training is that certain enemies have certain weaknesses. So when you're fighting these mobs with like infinite health, well, really high health, you're going to end up having a preference to their weaknesses. So picking and choosing the monster with the weaknesses that you want to be good at is going to help. Like, even you can get XP for all of the weapon types that you use, but the weapon type you use the most gets more XP. And another thing that you want is the Master S, that sometimes gives you double XP, because obviously when you're getting like 2k and you double that XP and you get a team attack bonus on top of that, you can skyrocket and level. Now, are these the definitive training areas in the game? No, this area is a step above Torrid, and you only unlock this after doing the Bard's Quest. And actually, the Bard's Quest, all the areas you go there are like a higher tier of difficulty than the ones in Torrid Ruins and Salamat. So when you go here, and I'm just going to show you that like every mob here gives you like 3k. Every mob almost gives you 3k, because they're all bosses. They're pretty much all bosses. So see, look at that motherfucker right there, right? Yeah, he gives like 3k. And there are lesser mobs here, but they're all in the highest tier of enemies. So this is the easiest to access area with the highest tiers of enemies for late game enemies. So once you're done training in the Torrid Ruins, once you're done some of the playthrough, some of the storyline, get to this location and start training here instead. Now, what I'm mainly trying to explain is the mobs sort of are in tiers, and some areas are higher tiers. And it doesn't matter how, like, when they appear in the story. So like Torrid, like say like most of the world map is second tier and Avalon's like first tier. So like the mobs that you find in the Canal Fortress, they're second tier, so they're like the ones you'd find in the world map. And then Torrid Ruins is like third tier and Salamat is like third tier. But when you go up to Naval, it goes up to like fourth tier. If that makes sense. There are other areas in the game that you unlock with the story, like Evil Island and etc. that are on the same sort of weight class as Naval. They'll give around 2,000, 3,000 XP, and we'll have monsters with more diverse weaknesses that are maybe more efficient for you. However, the game takes a while to open up those areas. By that time, you could have trained quite a lot in Naval or Torrid by that point. So this is an example of some of the XP that I got from the Gobos. And also look at that, I got an Elder Bow. That's a pretty cool thing, right? And would you look at that, 1,210, 1.05. This is with minimum encounters. Look at that, one of the best weapons in the game as a drop as well. Crazy. Now, I will give most of the monsters here their due. If you attack like the big spider ladies, they're not bad. And you can find them in other areas that are not Salamat. But the Frog Lords are definitely what I think are the best. Now, this is the sort of XP that we get from the Frog Lords. Still 1,000, and obviously I'm at low encounters. This is going to scale up a lot. They're just going to give more and more XP. It's just obviously I'm at a very low enemy strength right now. But yeah, as you can see, comparable. You can compare this XP that I'm getting from these mobs to the ones that you're getting right now, and you can see the difference. Now compare that to the one enemy I fought in Naval Ruins, and yeah, you can see that you get quite a lot of XP. Now, something to keep in mind about leveling up as well is you want to be using all the weapon types. There's ways to use like multiple weapon types at the same time. Like for instance, if we go to the halberd, see, capable of using both spear and axe techniques. I think there's also other weapons that allow for this. Maybe the Ranseur? No. The Rapier can use both sword and short sword techniques, for example. You can use these weapons to sort of incorporate a weapon type that you're not using in the combat. You only really need to use it once per character, like once per battle. As long as one of each weapon type is used. You don't want your weapon types falling behind, because that will severely nerf your other characters. So you just want to use one of every weapon type. Another thing that allows you to use multiple weapon type, see the healed sandals here, for example, it has the technique trampled connected to it. You get this from the female bandit. This will allow you to incorporate unarmed where you normally wouldn't get it. There's also certain weapons that allow for like spell casting as well. So you can use that for using every spell type. Also, if you're wanting a super balanced character, you could use all these. But the way that combat works and the way that leveling is supposed to work is you're supposed to focus on your strengths with the characters. So I generally like to make a party with strengths in all the areas that possible, so that I can get everyone in my kingdom up and also focus on those character strengths, you know? Anyway, I hope this guide has been helpful. Another thing to keep wary of is also development times as well as abilities. Whilst you're leveling, you don't want to end up inefficiently leveling up your abilities. as well as you can also formation farm. Generally, like, combat strength goes up from victories, so when you're losing, it's not a big debuff. You will lose the glimmer techniques that you know, but the training hall can help with that. Abdication as well can remove one of the steps for that. So try and efficiently level your kingdom, your development, and your abilities. Anyway, hope this guide has been helpful. Let me know if it has. Like, comment, and subscribe. This obviously, this game came out quite a long time ago, so any support is very welcome. Anyway, have a wonderful day.